enable.
The current size of the appliance and consumer electronics industry is estimated to be at 75,000 crore. The demand for electronic products in India is set to grow significantly in the next few years, primarily driven by strong economic outlook. Established in 1978, the Consumer Electronics and Appliance Manufacturing Association, or SIAMA, believes that exponential growth is possible in the ACE industry given the low level of penetration of appliances and electronics when compared to global averages. This can drive change and make India self-reliant and globally competitive. Focusing on championing change in the Indian appliance and consumer electronics, SIAMA concluded their 39th annual function in New Delhi. On this occasion, industry experts voiced their opinions on policy changes and shared their recommendations to propel growth within the segment.
Today we have a variety of people here. So the entire ecosystem of electronics industry, the appliance industry is here. It's extremely important for all of us to have conversation together and ensure that we add value to each other today. So just to quickly summarize, we have people representing the ODMs, the EMSs, the manufacturers, the people who are responsible for manufacturing and marketing their brands in the country, and also the retailers. So in that sense, it's a matter of pride for all of us that we have been able to pull this event together.
Do we go back and say that?
The theme for this event was Champions of Change, moving towards a dollar-positive industry, which envisages the ACE industry to become dollar-positive by 2030, with an aim to foster sustainable growth coupled with conducive policies.
I think, the first point of context that I would like to put on table for you all as the group is that, is it the right time, looking at the dollar-positive, challenge, is it the right time for this industry as a whole to go back to the whiteboard and say that, it's enough of time that we are looked at as a vertical, but it's the ecosystem play that needs to kick in. If we really need to talk about giving it back to the Indian consumer, the growing Indian consumer, the value add that they are looking at, I think it's the right time to look at how do we get the ecosystem play on ground to create opportunity for us to create value add in the products, create value add in the services as the consumer demands keep going up. So through this thought leadership, we would like to provoke that idea of saying that by looking at making some impediment change, can we start dreaming that?
Government schemes such as Make in India and Digital India reinforce the fact that the electronics hardware manufacturing sector is a crucial pillar to support such schemes. Minister of Commerce and Industry Suresh Prabhu graced the occasion and talked about expanding the country's export potential as an industry.
Let me congratulate your industry, the players of the industry, for making a very concerted effort and keeping a very important mission to be dollar positive. We have been seeing a continuous growth in exports. Incidentally, these last few months where we have experienced the highest growth are the worst months for the global trade. There have never been challenges like this that have ever been faced previously, which were encountered during this period. And despite that, we have been able to register a robust growth in dollar terms. It's not rupee terms, it's much, much higher. So obviously, we have some strategies in place, which I started when I became Commerce Minister a year ago. And since then, we are implementing each and every part of the policy. And I can assure you we would like to do as much as possible to remove all the hurdles possible. But something which is doable, something which is a realm of reality. And that is what we like to do. I appeal to you very strongly. It's a golden opportunity for India. I would feel that in this changing global trading order, we can play a very significant role. In fact, I am already preparing a strategy for it. I don't want to spell it out. And we'll try to take advantage of all the gaps that will exist, all the new opportunities that will emerge, and make India a different kind of country over the next few years' time.
a part of the summit, Siyama, in collaboration with PwC, unveiled a detailed report on the future of consumer durables and electronics in India, the changing landscape. The report further highlights the need to leverage customer services to drive revenue growth and how automation and technology can help fuel the segment's growth even further. Commemorating 39 glorious years of the ACE industry, Siyama also felicitated its industry members for their outstanding contribution to the durable industry in India. It bestowed the Man of Electronics Award to ADA Ratnam, President Personal Health, Philips India Subcontinent, and the Man of Appliance Award to Jasbir Singh, Chairman and CEO, Amber Enterprises India. Sharing his views on this occasion, Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant said that the policy-led initiative proposed by the governments have been specifically designed to aid the small and medium enterprises.
My first question to you is, the world is interested, looking at India, it's the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing economies, huge middle class. The government has been extremely happy about the growth in the ease of doing business, our position there, sir. But on ground, how is the reality? Do you see that businesses are finding it easier to set new businesses and manufacturing units?
I think we've made things very easy and simple. And that's the main reason why the consumer goods and the appliance industry is doing so well. You know, in October, it grew at about close to 60%. And because this Vinod Sharma, young man, used to keep shouting all the time about, too much of bureaucratic processes, the Prime Minister came out with a special MSME package, which is a remarkable package, which ensures ease of doing business, which ensures credit flow, which ensures, sanction within a defined time frame. So a huge, massive process and a package has been put forward for MSME. And the key challenge now for this industry really is, this industry has actually demonstrated that it's done extremely well. I still recall Dixon, when it came out with its IPO, it was oversubscribed many times over. And when Amber came out with its IPO, it was oversubscribed 16 times. So you can see the huge interest of investors, because the sector is doing extremely well. The challenge for them is not to look at the domestic market, but the challenge is to look at the export market. They should really become a very integral part of the global supply chain, manufacture not for the domestic market, but use it as a springboard to penetrate global markets. And we've done everything possible for the consumer goods and the appliances industry.
I wanted to understand from you, it is one of the big new industries globally. Everyone's looking at it. In India, within the Niti Aayog, are you cognizant of the fact that, 65% of white goods are still getting imported from abroad? And why is that? Can we reduce the cost of business for the industry, which I believe still is much higher than the rest of the countries that they compete with?
Let me first tell you that India is in a globalized world. There's nothing wrong in imports. You should be importing what you are not good at, and you should be exporting what you are good at. That's how the global economy works. So what we should do is really to excel and become highly competitive in areas in which we are very good at and penetrate global markets. And I think there the important thing is that as the government is focused on ease of doing business, the industry must do size and scale. Where you can't do appliances and you can't do consumer goods without doing large scale size. That's why I keep stressing, exports is critical. Exports for these, forget about it, don't worry about imports. Produce to penetrate global markets, because you've now you're capturing domestic market, produce to penetrate global markets, and that's important.
On that promissory note, I'm going to thank you, sir, for this dialogue.
We are celebrating our 39th annual function. And the theme of this event is, how do we come together and create a dollar-positive industry? And we all understand that fundamentally, while we have plenty of opportunities, the lower penetration rate of appliances, the immense growth opportunity which we see while we look forward, potentially a positive policy environment evolving over the last few years, create immense opportunities for us. Simultaneously, we feel that one of the challenges is huge dependency on import, specifically of components. while we look at our industry in specific. So today we have come together to deliberate and have a conversation around this particular subject.
I think CMI has done a fantastic job in bringing the industry together, and this has been the 39th year of their event, and this is such a fantastic event where everybody is coming together and really thinking to how to really grow this industry, looking at not only a domestic growth but making a manufacturing hub in India so that we can really shine.
We have this, today the theme is Champions of Change. Change means what? Change basically is evolving around manufacturing. How far we have gone into manufacturing against our normal business, which we are more on an import business based in the consumer durable side. I think from that perspective, I think the whole association per se has made a lot of efforts in supporting the industry.
We've heard what the minister and what the chairman Niti Ayog Amitabh Kant had to say, but I think placing the onus on the manufacturers and the industry alone is not good enough. When we sign FTAs which put a dampener on Make in India initiatives, it does not help local industry. We've got to ensure that we have a level playing field, and with a level playing field, then obviously the Indian industry will take up the challenge and will be able to grow and become a global competitor.
I think a lot of initiatives that we have seen government is taking towards increasing exports, and therefore we also want to really make our industry less reliant on import and see how we can scale up manufacturing and how we can make ourselves more competitive.
How this industry can become a dollar neutral or dollar positive in the years to come. It can become self-sustainable, it can become self-reliant, so that it has not to be dependent on the market fluctuation or any sort of policy which is coming into the market can really impact the change or the growth of this industry.
The 38th annual function of Consumer Electronics and Appliance Manufacturers Association witnessed industry experts voicing their opinions on policy changes and giving their recommendations to propel growth within the segment. A panel discussion on the theme Champions of Change, moving towards a dollar-positive industry, was held to discuss the importance of divulging and expanding the export framework for the ACE industry and how a right policy structure can help create economies of scale and the right FTAs.
The Indian consumer durable industry is currently extremely import reliant, and that's no second thoughts on it. While the import substitution ensures that we are able to increase our outputs, we still need to find out ways to compete on a larger scale and a global scale. And that will make us possibly an export-oriented organization or an industry. How are we present today? What are the steps that you think we can take forward?
If you look at today how we are placed, I think there are a lot of challenges for us to really compete in the global market on exports. I think competitiveness is the biggest element that is there, which is drawing us, holding us back on exports. Then second, I think the infrastructure itself in this country is adding to the cost of manufacturing for us. So this is the second hurdle that we are facing. The third, I think we as a country, though we are progressing, we don't have an ecosystem to support that. So unless and until we develop ecosystem for this industry to be cost competitive, to scale up as an industry, we will not be able to compete in the global market.
As an observer of the industry, I find there are a few tremendous changes, trends, shifts that are taking place at a fundamental level. Number one to me is the electronics is no more a vertical, a sector. Roti Kapda Makan has now extended to electronics, because anybody who gets that little money in his hands wants to buy a mobile phone or some kind of an audio device, some kind of a television, a display. So this need for somebody to acquire electronics has made it absolutely essential as a commodity. So from a demand perspective, I have no doubt in my mind that the $300 average per capita consumption of the world that we have for electronics will also come to India, which is only at about $60 today. So you're looking at a 5x growth, and I keep saying that I don't know if this will happen in 5 years. Some reports believe that, and some say, no, it might happen in 7 or 10 years. I don't think that's important. To me as a businessman, an industry a demand that is going to grow by 5 times is a great place to be, starting point. But every coin has another side, and the other side to this coin is that if we fail in electronics, it's not just a question of displays or mobiles, we actually fail as a country. We fail as an industry. And I would say, all of us in the room, I can tell you this. I think we should stop looking at the government and say, they're going to save us. This is our industry. We've been here for 30 years. If we can't save this, I don't think we should expect the government to save it.
I'll flip it around and move to Shashi and look at more opportunities. And I'm talking to him, Shashi, more as your expertise and work that you have done both in the digital and the FMCG side. Improved distribution channels, supply chain, logistics have been some of the reasons behind the growth of the FMCG in India. What are the factors that you think which FMCG has actually done and the digital platforms have done, which as an industry in ACE or the industry that we are looking at here are going to benefit out of with the experience? If you can elaborate on some of the areas that you have worked on.
Do agree with you that, there are a lot of parallels that are there in this industry alongside FMCG. I don't see, a lot of differences when it comes to distributive trade. Obviously, online is a different ballgame altogether. But when you talk about distributive trade, it's largely the same. India is a large, vast country, and it is still, a stranglehold of the trading community, if I may say. And therefore, the power still is more with the retail than with the brands, with the exception of few top-end leading brands. And therefore, that power equation needs to be balanced. And the only way to balance it is to increase and enhance distribution and, in a sense, follow what FMCG companies have done over the years is the way I would see it. Obviously, some of the larger retail channels, that's a difference that is not there so much in FMCG industry, and that actually tilts the favor once again against the leading brands in this industry, and that's what I said earlier, needs to be balanced out between online, offline, organized retail for the industry to grow as a whole.
Absolutely perfect, Kamal, man. This has been one hot topic of discussion in most of our, and I've taken this up in the thought leadership paper also, that this is one area of not just do a knee-jerk policies and look at, while the consumer obviously looks at the best in the breed, we have to look at the industry, how do you cope up with manufacturing as well as the cost element. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today for the 39th annual function of SEMA. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister, Shri Suresh Prabhu, for being with us today and sharing his vision on making the electronics industry dollar positive. His thoughts for enabling the sector will contribute to the success of Make in India and Digital India and accelerate the growth of our consumer durable sector. On behalf of the consumer durable industry, I assure him that we will take the initiatives towards actualizing the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister and accelerating India's growth. I would also like to thank Shri Amitabh Kant for sharing his perspective about how we can become more export-oriented and how the government is working towards building an ecosystem for friendly policies and ease of doing business. As an industry, we would like to take this opportunity to assure him that we will take all positive measures to make the best use of the encouraging policies while sharing the benefits of those with our consumers and partners alike.
ACE Dialogues was attended by over 250 delegates. Interactive sessions and well-planned networking opportunities led to a robust discussion on the market potential to drive growth and finding pragmatic solutions to become the champions of change.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.